He-Man brought Talon Fighter in to hover just above the ice. Then he jumped out, while Man-at-Arms again took to the air. His job was to keep watch on the activities of the Sea People. Boarding the ship in the same way as he had left it, He-Man hurried to find Teela and explained what he and Man-at-Arms had been doing. As the warrior goddess, her powers were almost equal to his own, and he wanted her help.
The warm sea current is moving too slowly,
He explained.
We must go to meet it. While Merman has at his command great numbers of the creatures of the sea, there are many of whom he is not master. The warm-blooded sea-dwellers count him as their enemy. Perhaps they will come to our aid. Will you try?
Yes.
Replied Teela.
If I can reach enough of them by thought energy, they will do as I ask.
Following He-Man, Teela climbed down onto the ice. They looked for a high place and found an ice pinnacle. He-Man helped Teela to stand on top of it. Then she raised her cobra scepter above her head. As her thought energy flowed into it, the eyes began to pulse with power. Soon the eyes of the scepter glowed steadily and brightly. Teela closed her eyes and began to transmit a silent message by the power of her mind.
I, Teela, warrior goddess, summon you who have warm blood by command of the Lord He-Man.
He-Man scanned the waves, but nothing moved. Again, Teela sent out her message, and again. Then, far off, there appeared a puff of vapor above the waves. Then another, and another. A school of whales was approaching. A herd of walruses suddenly surfaced close to the ice. Dolphins came leaping over the crests of the waves, and a school of porpoises followed quickly. More and more whales, walruses, dolphins, porpoises, and a huge herd of seals joined them. In her mind, Teela heard their thoughts.
Command us, Teela. We are here to do your bidding.
He-Man looked at the sea animals as they jostled beside the ice floe.
Now,
He said to Teela.
Command them to push against the ice.
Again, Teela raised the cobra scepter, and again the eyes glowed as she sent out more mind energy.
Use your strength. Push against the ice.
With a great threshing of tails, fins, and flippers, the whales, walruses, dolphins, porpoises, and seals pushed hard. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the great ice floe began to move. It gathered speed, heading steadily for the warm current flowing from Inferno Island. Again, He-Man scanned the surface of the sea for any sign of Merman, but the Sea People were keeping out of sight because Man-at-Arms was circling above. There was nothing more that He-Man and Teela could do for the moment. He-Man said,
You go back to the ship. I will get Man-at-Arms to pick me up.
He waited until she had gone, then changed into Prince Adam once more and made his way, unseen, back to the ship as well. Far away in his lair in Snake Mountain, Skeletor, Lord of Destruction, was uneasy. He decided to spy on his underlings and activated his spy scan monitor. All seemed well. Then he tuned in to Merman. At first it looked as though Merman was winning the day. On the screen, Sea Eagle appeared trapped in the ice. Below the surface of the sea was Merman, surrounded by his warriors. But when Skeletor looked again, he saw that the ice floe in which Sea Eagle was trapped was itself moving, away from the undersea army. Skeletor screamed with rage, and his slaves fled in terror.
That fool!
He roared.
His bungling will bring disaster to us all!
Shouting an order to his scurrying slaves, he raced out to his fast and deadly hovercraft. His Roton was ready for him, prepared for takeoff. Scattering the ground crew before him, Skeletor leapt aboard, and a moment later was flashing across the coast and out to sea. From a distance, Skeletor spotted the trapped Sea Eagle. As he got closer, he saw the great mass of creatures pushing the ice floe. Desperate to know what was happening, Skeletor called up Merman. Merman's face appeared on the cockpit video screen.
You spineless jellyfish!
Skeletor shrieked.
This is some trick of the masters of the universe! Do something about it!
I'll order my warriors,
Stammered Merman.
Warriors! Witless sea urchins!
Cried Skeletor.
Summon the sharks, stingrays, sea serpents to attack those interfering air breathers!
Merman did as he was ordered, climbing onto the ice to direct operations. Skeletor watched with satisfaction as a swarm of sharks, stingrays, and sea serpents raced to the attack. Then he guided the Roton in to alight on the ice. He still had to deal with Merman. As the Roton skidded to a standstill, Skeletor leapt out and climbed onto an ice hummock. He saw Merman standing on another hummock. And he also saw the sharks, stingrays, and sea serpents fleeing for their lives. A school of highly intelligent killer whales had been patrolling at the rear of Tila's creatures as they pushed the ice floe. Now they rushed to the attack, teeth gleaming, quickly joined by the long-tusked walruses. Merman shouted after them in rage.
Cowards! Come back!
And he fired shots from his energy weapon into the waves, but could not stop the retreat. Beside himself with rage, Skeletor aimed a shot at Merman, but it went wide as his foot slipped. The ice was melting. The floe was breaking up. Merman fired blasts of ice pellets, and so the two evil creatures battled it out on the wet, slippery ice, ducking and dodging among the crumbling hummocks. At the sound of battle, the passengers and crew of Sea Eagle rushed on deck. Already they could feel the air becoming milder as the ice melted. They saw Merman fire once again at Skeletor. Merman slipped on the ice. He sprawled full length and his weapon flew from his hand. It slid along the ice and over the edge. Weaponless, Merman decided to follow. In a hail of shots from Skeletor, he dived into the water and disappeared. Alone on the ice, Skeletor made to escape in the Roton. But he had left it too late. The ice floe was already breaking into fragments. A wide lane of water separated him from his machine, which drifted farther off, even as he watched. The ice under Skeletor's feet gave a lurch. The piece upon which he was standing had broken free of the main floe and was drifting off, carrying him with it. Standing by the ship's rail, Prince Adam and Tila watched Skeletor's plight.
I feel almost sorry for him,
said Tila. Skeletor clung in terror to the rapidly shrinking piece of ice.
Merman!
He screamed.
I command you to come to my aid! I am your lord and master!
There was a swirl in the water, but it was not Merman. One of the killer whales was in a playful mood. It swam close, then it dived under Skeletor, making the ice rock violently. Again, Skeletor shouted for Merman. Adam turned to Tila.
Merman is not the bravest of creatures,
He said.
Skeletor is going to be very cold and wet before Merman plucks up courage to face him, let alone rescue him.
The last piece of ice drifted clear of Sea Eagle. The captain shouted an order, and the sails filled to the freshening breeze. The great ship gathered way faster and faster until the wind sang in the rigging and she scarcely seemed to touch even the tops of the waves. The passengers looked astern. Already far behind, the last pieces of ice bobbed on the waves. On one, the Roton could be seen, and on another, the tiny figure of Skeletor waved and shouted for Merman. But Adam, with Tila by his side, was looking at the sky, and in the distance he could see a silvery streak against the blue. It was the Talon Fighter returning to Castle Grayskull with Man-at-Arms. The Masters of the Universe had triumphed once again.